Another playoff NBA slate in front of us. We're going to dig in today and do what we always do here on the Splash Play channels. We're going to compare my projections to some of the industry leaders out there, like our friends at Stokastic. We're also going to see what the betting markets have unabated. Going to run some DFS sims using Stokastic's data. By the end of this video, you know all the must plays and my splash plays for today's NBA slate 3-gamer today. Let's get into it. The big news item for the day, and there actually is a news item, which there normally is not in the playoffs. Jason Tatum, doubtful. Hurt his wrist the other day. It seems like it's a bone bruise. Of the most recent reports, you might have seen the viral clip of Joe Mazzulla yelling at him to get up while he was on the floor, which I respect. Hey, better than calling him and giving him a kiss on the cheek, right? But either way, though, Tatum out, it looks like today. So as a result, you're going to have Celtics looking a little bit better than usual. In particular, man, the thumbnail, Al Horford. Last time that Tatum didn't play in the regular season, and it was a regular game with a regular Celtics rotation, Horford saw 30-plus minutes. So Stokastic is giving him a lot of minutes today. We're going to get him as a value. We'll talk about him in a moment. Your top projected players today, though, according to my data, and we'll look at some ownership info from Stokastic as well along the way. Got Paolo Banchero, 46.9 fantasy points. Last time for the Magic, he was their lone player to get over 40 minutes. So Banchero, again, likely your guy, going to get the most usage, going to be most involved. Franz Wagner lost some minutes last game to Caleb Houston, and not really sure why that would be. It does feel like Franz could probably get to the same 40 minutes that Banchero plays. But I think right now it's something I've talked about the entire regular season where, to me, Banchero and Wagner, very similar per minute producers, similar usage rates, similar assist rates. I would play those guys similar amounts. I think at this point now, with the playoff rotation so far, and frankly what we've seen, I'd say the last month or so, Banchero seems like he's moved ahead of Franz a little bit more in the pecking order in terms of being a guy. It's going to get all the minutes, going to be relied on for his defense as much as the offense. Even though his defense is not great, I think it's a little bit more there right now than Franz is with his size, physicality, muscularity, all that stuff. So for Banchero at 9K, he looks pretty good here. Projected to get 40 minutes, just under that, and he should safely get there as long as the game's not too out of hand. Alperen Şengün, 34 minutes for him here. He was the best player last time out for the Rockets, getting him at 29% of my top 150 lineups. So a good amount more than Banchero, only gotten 14% compared to the field's 32. Şengün, I'm above the field on. He had a good game last time out. Didn't quite get the double-double, I believe, versus Golden State. Still a good situation for him where he did get up over 20 points in that game. Let's see. Let's put the popcorn machine real fast. Got 26 points there, 8 peripherals, and including the turnovers taken away. Not a bad game for Şengün overall. For him, playing 36 minutes as well. Pretty good sign for him in the playoffs, too. The matchup going against Golden State, where you're not really worried about the opposing centers facing Draymond, Quentin Post. Neither guy going to do a whole lot to stop what Şengün does best. So I do think at this point, and Looney too, for whatever the 10 minutes or so that he'll be in the mix. Şengün, I feel good about again. Does feel like the guards should play better in the spot. Really egregious shooting numbers for Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green last time out. But Şengün to me looks pretty good. Projections for a little bit higher for me, about 0.2 fantasy points higher than Stokastic has. But Şengün, I think, a strong play today and reasonably priced at 8,700. Good day for DFS. There are a lot of tournaments going on. MLB's got 2 slates today. I'll be on Stokastic's nighttime live before lock for MLB. And yes, NBA going off the same time too. So both slates tip off today or start today at 7 p.m. East Coast time. So prepare accordingly if you are trying to be a 2-sport superstar. This is my shirt says Horace Mann, my high school. Why would it possibly say horny man with a football on it? Jake, clean it up, Jake. Steph Curry, we got 14% ownership for the field. I'm getting 9%. He looks okay to me with a 44.5 projection, $8,900 salary. Steph in this spot played 40 minutes last time out, just shy of that versus Houston. Still a tough defensive matchup on paper with the guys that can put against them over the course of the entire game, not just starters off the bench as well. They can make things even more interesting, playing your Tari Easons more at some point. You only got 20 minutes last time out. That's it for Steph. He's still Steph. There's going to be concerted effort to get him the ball, get him good shots. I think for Franz Wagner, Bam Adebayo, these guys I'm getting more ownership for. But Steph Curry has the higher tournament ceiling for sure. The ability to break a slate, to put up 60 fantasy points here. And he's playing probably about 39, 40 minutes. So I think Steph Curry, a better play than my ownership has him for. At 14% ownership, he'd also be the lowest owned of all these top projected players. So you know how that is with Steph. If he goes nuts here in the spot, he wins you the tournament. He's not highly enough owned today, I think would be my guess. Bam Adebayo, 28% for the field. I'm at 24%, excuse me. So not a big stand here for Bam. Bam was your minutes leader for Miami last game. Also kind of iced Khalil Ware down the stretch. Seems like the 2 center option. Not going to play as well in the postseason for at least as long. as they're in this season, or the series rather, versus Cleveland. That said, at this point for Bam Adebayo, $8,400 salary. If he's going to play 40 minutes, he's in the hunt for sure. 28% for the field, 24% for me. Bam looks pretty decent again here. Really, same situation we had yesterday. We talked about a little more length. Price tags are all low for the starters. We also have a slate where there's nobody projected above 50 fantasy points. You don't have a Jokic. You don't have a Giannis. So getting the right combo here of these guys that you can sort of easily afford from 7,500 to 9K is going to be the goal for the day. So Bam is in that mix. I don't think he's much better than anybody else, but he's certainly in play at 8,400. Franz Wagner, 55% for me, 30% for the field. It does feel like he should get himself a few more minutes. That said, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Banchero does seem like he's a little bit above the pecking order right now than Franz Wagner. So I think for Banchero, you're paying $1,200 more. You're getting what you pay for there. Franz is 7,800, still feels capable of a big day. Still can add a theoretical double-double with assists, maybe get a few more rebounds. I mean, both Banchero and Franz have triple-double upside, but I like Franz more than I think the public will. Got 55% in my top 150, Fields at 30. It's been the case for me for Franz all year because he contributes in every category. He plays pretty well. I just don't think my projections have fully caught up for the fact that Banchero is a little bit of a different player at this point, but I don't change the rates to reflect that. So the data is going to show what the data shows. We got to appreciate the chats as well. Appreciate the love you, Spags from Extra QT. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you are watching, whether it's live or after the fact, trying to give these videos a little more evergreen time as opposed to going 4 p.m. every day, which I had to do for Unabated when we were still being sponsored every video there. But please do hit the like button and subscribe. It goes a long way for me here. Of course, just one creator trying to do the best I can. Give you guys good info, whether it's NBA, MLB at some point this year will be going there. Probably not at this point until after the NBA playoffs are over. But I'm here doing the work as best I can, really just showing you my gambling, and you can do what you want with it, I guess. And check out our sponsors too, or, our partners, I'll say more so. Unabated 20% off, Stokastic 15% off, and join the Discord as well. $5 to join if you want to see more content like this, where I try to pull back the I don't know, the fucking pull back the curtain. That's it. I'm so tired. The puppy woke me up at 4:30 today. She's here right now, and I would show her to you, but she's actually sleeping and being good. Just rustling around at 4:30. I'm like fucking dead for no reason. She didn't even need anything. She just slept, but woke me up really good over the middle of the night, as puppy owners know. Now it's not the kid. Now it's the puppy. We got Donovan Mitchell coming after Franz here. Not a lot for him. Not a lot of him for me, rather. 11%, Fields at 32. Donovan Mitchell's been a guy I've had lower projected than some of his teammates the entire year. Not surprised to see him be lower for me. That said, he is a guy who obviously has a palpable ceiling in this kind of spot. Maybe your one caveat is that Miami at the end of last game really got more defensively minded, kept Hero out there, kept Bam out there, kept Wiggins out there, throughout Highsmith, throughout Davion Mitchell. They're going to try to defend their way out of the series. I don't know if they can. Cleveland's good enough to kind of stop that from being, a thing that maybe other teams would get impeded by Miami throwing their most defensively minded wings out there. For Cleveland, I'm not worried about it as much. But Mitchell's projection still is what it is. I have him 2 fantasy points lower than Stokastic. Fields going to play him a third of the time. I'm only getting 11. It doesn't feel great because we do know he has a tournament winning ceiling for sure. Tyler Hero, 25% for the field, 36% for me. $7,700 price tag looks pretty good as well. He was right there minutes-wise with Bam Adebayo last game. Believe he was in the high 30s. I'm trying to keep all of my popcorn machine tabs aligned here. So Hero got to 37 minutes, Wiggins got to 38, Bam got to 39, and there's about another minute to play here if the game were in a total blowout. So Hero's minutes seem pretty secure. He is certainly getting the best defensive efforts from Cleveland right now, which I think would be a concern point. If you're not a Tyler Hero believer, I still think the crush of usage for him is high enough that he can get there in most spots. I have him 2 fantasy points and change higher than Stokastic. That's why I'm getting 36%, and the field's only projected for 25. I like Hero today. I think I'll be there again, even though I could certainly see people not being there as much today because he was a disappointment in game 1. Jimmy Butler. Not a lot of ownership going Jimmy Butler's way here. 1% for me, top 150. Fields at 27. I think Butler looks okay, just shy of a 5x value. $8,500 salary. He played 40 minutes last game for Golden State. So another guy, as we always talk about in the playoffs, starter's going to be secured more minutes unless the game becomes a blowout. Then you can see those guys pulled early, kind of dust themselves off, get ready for the next game. For Butler, though, he's going to play good minutes as long as the game's competitive. And with the Houston series, do expect to be competitive into the fourth quarter for pretty much every game. So Jimmy Butler here, I'm not getting him a lot. I think he's as credible play as anybody else here. And you can see very flat ownership across the board. Does feel, though, like you're getting maybe more leverage if you play Steph Curry over Butler, given the fact that Curry, a little bit more expensive, won't get there as much as a result. Field not playing him as much, about half the ownership expected. Butler and Curry can both get there, but I do think, if Butler's going to be this highly owned, maybe play Curry instead, Draymond instead even I'm not a big Draymond guy. Jaylen Brown, a big stand for me, more than 2x the field, 58%. Fields at 26%, and this does include Stokastic updating for Jason Tatum not being in today because he's been doubtful since yesterday. So Jaylen Brown at this point, the rates take a big jump up overall. Court time without Tatum this year, Brown has been the biggest winner. He has averaged for himself 1.3 fantasy points submitted on 33% usage and a 30% assist rate. Also should shoot better at some point, 53% true shooting on the year with Tatum off the court. Pritchard's been good, 1.1 fantasy points minute rounded up. Derek White's been good, 1.1 rounded up. Porzingis has been really good, 1.3 fantasy points a minute, and that's actually rounding down a little bit. He's been at 1.33. I think that Brown and Porzingis to me should be your highest ceiling guys in terms of what they gain from Tatum being out. Horford's your best value guy from what he gains from Tatum being out. But I think Jaylen Brown is one of the stronger plays. Again, just having a higher usage cap because of the fact that they're going to be in the playoffs, and that means the Stars get more shots up. I think Brown at 7,500 is way too cheap. Getting him in a 40.9 projection. Stokastic is at 37.7, so about 3 fantasy points higher for me than he is for Stokastic. Darius Garland. I'm a little surprised to see this much Garland coming up, but his price tag is really low. Mitchell at 8,300. He's about where he was for most points of the regular season. Darius Garland at 7K, definitely coming down here, maybe suffering a little bit for Ty Jerome taking some usage last game and having an outlier day. Garland, though, projected to play 35 minutes. I'm getting him at 55% of my top 150 lineups. Fields at 23%. I think Garland's too cheap. I don't think he's an outlier great play as much. I do expect Mitchell to take more possessions away from him now that we're in playoff time. But I'm still pretty okay with Garland overall in the spot. If he's going to be 7K, it's just not really an appropriate price tag. Mid-7s for him, fine. Jaylen Brown, 8K would be fine in the spot without Tatum. But these guys a little bit too cheap, I think, in terms of I'd view them. Same thing for Tyler Hero. I mean, the two cheap guys to me would be, in particular, Hero, Brown, Garland, Franz. I'd throw Şengün in there, too. I think he's a little bit too cheap. The price tags are just too soft because it's the playoffs. They try to make it a little more easy for casuals to get in. You have a really soft price tag on Darius Garland. And Evan Mobley, a little bit softer than where it was for points of the regular season at well, 7,900. He was really your big loser in game one for the Cavs. Let's see if we can, if it's really going to paint the picture for you that well in Popcorn Machine. But he played 33 minutes, so not the high minutes that other teams are getting to. He also only put up 9 points, 7 peripherals, minus the turnovers, so not a lot of stats for Evan Mobley here. Things should get better for Evan Mobley in the same way we talked about here. A lot of people are kind of prisoners of the moment in playoff series where they go, okay, last game, whatever happens is going to happen again. Mobley getting some usage back. Ty Jerome ceding some usage back to the group to be the most likely thing I'd expect here. Garland put up 27 points last game, so I don't know how much things changed for him. But I do think for Mobley, maybe a little bit less Garland, a little bit less Ty Jerome, a little bit more Mobley in the spot. Like Mobley is not going to be this quiet all series long, would be my guess. So for Mobley, I think it seems like good ownership for him at 20% for the field, 20.7% for me. Mobley, not one of my favorite plays by any stretch, but the guys who were awful the game before just end up a little bit on their own, and we've seen it happen now on pretty much every playoff slate. I'm going to sort by value here. They'll go game by game. Man, I really should be able to get this done in half an hour, but I just don't. I just fail every time. Well, let's see what we can get going here. Al Horford, top value. As I mentioned, doesn't make any sense. Why did I get 0% in my sim? Is that incorrect somehow? Hold on. Because I know I had 99% in my sim, so something's off here. Yeah, so I actually have 99% Al Horford. I don't know why it says 0. Something must have imported incorrectly, and I'm not sure what it is right now. Look up B23. Something's broken in my Al Horford part of things. Let's not worry about it, even though it's going to drive me nuts as an OCD data person. But Horford, I'm getting in basically every lineup right now. So Cask has him for 36 minutes. I think it's aggressive. As I mentioned before, last time Tatum was out in a real game in the regular season, Horford played 31 minutes. So give him some inflation for the playoffs, 34 minutes maybe. Even that feels a little bit aggressive to me. He did play 25 minutes the first game, and that was with Tatum active and playing 40 minutes. So Horford should be able to get more minutes here. The issue is like the usage could flow Brown's way, could flow Porzingis' way, could flow White's way, could flow Pritchard's way. It could flow a lot of ways that aren't Al Horford. He's not been a high usage guy, even with Tatum off the court. He's averaged basically the same rates overall. Horford has put up 12.4% usage with Tatum off the court, which is actually a little bit lower than where he's been with Tatum on the court. 0.84 fantasy points a minute with Tatum off the court. What he's been averaging with Tatum, or either what he's been averaging the entire season is 0.83. He just doesn't actually gain a whole lot besides the minute increase. So if the minutes get away from him because they don't want to play the old guy too much, or he doesn't end up being a good matchup for whatever reason against Orlando, there's ways that Horford cannot play. So I think the fact Orlando's a low-paced team and has some bigs, I think would make it more likely that Horford stays out there. But there is some risk to him. Getting him as much. The field's at 77%. As I mentioned, I was getting him in every single lineup, even though it's not showing correctly for whatever reason. Horford is going to be your value play of the day. Very easy to get him into every lineup. If he fails, and like the worst case scenario you're expecting is probably him putting up like the Denver guys did the other day where they played a ton of minutes, still put up like 20 fantasy points. I think high teens to 20 fantasy points for Horford would not be crazy in this spot. But I think he's more to me like an Asar Thompson, where I think he likely makes a winning lineup no matter what, and somebody who wins has like good players around him. So I'd be more inclined to play more Horford than not, but if the minutes flow away from him, he could kill a lot of lineups, or at least kill a lot of lineups and kill them in terms of the cash line, even though your best lineups might still include him, if that makes sense. Fred VanVleet. So VanVleet got the most shots on the team last game for Houston, was awful doing it. Played 40-plus minutes, though. I hate VanVleet, but if he's going to play 40 minutes, I would have him for 33.5 fantasy points. It does feel like you could take him off the court. You can have other guys on the wing there. Again, I think you can play Tari Eason more and just see what you could do with him having good defense and be able to play, really guard every position 1 through 5. For VanVleet, though, I don't know they're going to do it that way. They gave him a ton of shots, played him 40 minutes. So I think trying to assume it'll happen again one more game is a fair way to do that. If he hits his shots, if he doesn't go 4 for 19 or whatever it was, he probably has an outlier day last time out. So I have him in 61% of lineups right now. Fields at 27. I don't love VanVleet as a player. Really hardly played him at all this year unless there was a bunch of Rockets out. But at 5,800, nice price tag, playing 40 minutes and getting an egregious amount of shots up for reasons unclear, because he's played well against the Warriors in the past. I don't know what the logic would be why he got as many shots up as he did, but he did get them. So VanVleet, 5,800 in play, even though he, like Horford, you could maybe play other guys and it wouldn't be shocking. The coaches, could play other guys and it wouldn't be shocking. Brandon Podziemski projecting well, as he has really the entire year. Produces in every category. The issue is with Butler, with Curry. The minutes getting squeezed a little bit. They used to getting squeezed a little bit in the playoffs. Kuminga being phased down the rotation probably frees things up a little bit more for Podziemski, along with the fact he's playing projected to play 35 minutes by Stokastic. I think he's a good mid-tier play at 5,500. I still think that he's a guy, too, that has a tangible downside at 50% ownership, basically. So I got him in 43% of my lineups. I think you're going to get him naturally a good amount as one of those mid-tier options that's getting starter-level minutes. I just don't know that he's the best play functionally to me. And again, we talked about Caruso being a kind of a unique case yesterday. And when Stokastic Sims are there, I'm willing to sometimes get a little bit more and just go like, all right, well, this is what it is. Even though this play doesn't make sense to me, Caruso obviously ends up being a tournament winnings player yesterday. For Podziemski, if we're getting him a lot in the sim, I think you got to trust it, even though he really does feel like he's carrying a little bit of projection from the days where Curry was out, where Butler wasn't there, where Wiggins was out as well for a period. That's sort of what I feel about Podziemski's numbers, at least in my projection set. Derek White, 47% for my top 150, Fields at 35. If you're getting Jaylen Brown a good amount, you should get Derek White, especially in lineups without Jaylen Brown. Tatum leaves so many possessions behind. It's possible that you see White, Brown, Holiday, Porzingis, maybe 3 out of the 4 hit. Put Horford on top with him being cheap enough and getting extra minutes that are not accounted for in his price tag. You can have a lot of Boston guys hitting because Tatum is vacating so many possessions, so many assists, so many rebounds, so many shots he's getting up. So I think Derek White strongly in play here. You play him with Jaylen Brown. I think he gets more appealing in lineups without Jaylen Brown as well. He and Pritchard especially. But Derek White looking good here in about half my lineups. Jared Allen, surprised to see him in about half my lineups as well, 45%, but a nice price tag at 5,900. The minutes are there for him. He can play better as well. Both he and Mobley suffered in game 1 versus Miami. Miami's got a tough big rotation, maybe not the biggest surprise in the world, no pun intended. But I think Allen looks good enough to play. Kind of feels like a Rudy Gobert to me. Price tag soft, but that's basically it. Jaylen Brown, we talked about already, 2x the field for me, a little bit more than that. Darius Garland, same thing, more than 2x the field for me. Ty Jerome, flat with the field. I don't think you can expect his outlier performance that he had last game every time out. That said, he's averaged 1.3 fantasy points a minute with LeVert and Yang off the team. He's been a monster the entire year. The issue is just the minutes can maybe not be there in certain spots, especially if Miami goes a little bit bigger, does hunt Jerome a little bit. I don't know who they'd hunt him with on offense, but they can hunt him because he's not the best defender in the world. So Ty Jerome, play him again, but he shouldn't be a priority play on the slate. The price tag at 4,300 does look pretty appealing, though. Franz Wagner, we talked about. Hero, we talked about. Adebayo, we talked about. Kind of the same case it's been on most of these slates. The top values aren't really value plays in the traditional sense. They're just guys that are a little bit underpriced. It's what these playoff slates are so far. And frankly, what they're probably going to be for most of the rest of the time period we have NBA slates. So that's the overall view, guys. We're going to go game by game here. Again, one more quick ask. Please do support the show if you can. I frankly can't do the shows unless you guys support it enough. So please subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. If you want to support the show most directly, join the channel down below for $5. You get added to a VIP Discord, and you also ensure that I can do this content every day. And really, if everybody that watched the videos were just a member here for $5, make my life a lot easier in terms of having to whore out for partners and such. So please do support the show if you enjoy this content where I just show you the tools and the data, and you can do whatever you want with it from there. And check out Stokastic too, all their data and sim stuff, 15% off link down below. The cheap products, the expensive stuff, you get it all for 15% off. It's the best deal they have as an affiliate for me because number one, I get half the money you pay to Stokastic. And number two, it's also just a deal for you where basically you get 15% off in perpetuity as opposed to their lightning deals where you get, like 50% off for a month. You'd rather have 15% off for the rest of the year that you're doing whatever, MLB, things like that. So check it out, link down below. Check out Unabated too, 20% off. Get some good bets in. You'd be making money if you just follow what Unabated tells you to do. Placing bets, 30 minutes for tip-off, 5% or higher ROI. That's how that goes. All right, Orlando, we've talked enough about already, I feel like, but 93 implied points for Orlando. Getting a good amount of Franz Wagner here, 55%, less of Paolo Banchero. My goal was always to flatten these guys out a little bit more, which the field is doing. Both guys around 30% ownership. You should get exposure to both. They're both strong plays. Banchero, though, at this point, is a stronger play in terms of his upside, in terms of the, being a focal point of the offense. Franz, though, too cheap at 7,800, so he's more of that criteria of guy that we talked about where the price tag's just not right. Banchero at 9K, I think, is honestly an appropriate price tag. Wendell Carter getting a little bit, 13% fields at 10. Jonathan Isaac, 25% fields at 13. He's basically your backup 5 at this point. Could theoretically get some more minutes, but I don't think he will in a game where Tatum is out. But Isaac, it was literally the backup for Carter. Batate was out of the rotation last game. So Jonathan Isaac in the hunt as a value play, even though it's hard to imagine a crazy upside here unless Wendell Carter gets in foul trouble or gets injured or something. Boston with no Jason Tatum, a 103.5 implied total, not the best, but it does make sense when you account for the matchup with Orlando, who is a lower pace team as well. Both teams playing around 96 possessions per game. So we're expecting a total kind of like Lakers, Minnesota yesterday in this spot as well. Jaylen Brown, though, with the usage that's vacated by Tatum here, you have to like every available Celtic. Brown getting 58% fields at 26. Porzingis, I would like to get more of. I'm only getting 9% fields at 18.5. As I mentioned, Porzingis has averaged 1.33 fantasy points per minute without Tatum this year. So he should see a pretty big increase, have the bigger upside. The issue for him is he's not going to get you to 38 minutes, and there's a shot. I mean, there's a likelihood Derek White, Horford, Drew get to mid-30s. Jaylen Brown at this point, I would hope, gets to the mid-30s with recovery from his knee stuff. Guys also play big minutes. Porzingis won't get quite there, but he's probably got the biggest upside for whatever the amount of court time he gets. Derek White, 47% for me, fields at 35. Again, I think trying to get Porzingis in here as your other usage guy, get some more looks at him would be good. If you're not playing Jaylen Brown, I would consider boosting Pritchard more. He probably gets court time in a spot where Jaylen Brown maybe doesn't get his fourth quarter stint. You probably see Pritchard close that game out. That's what happened last time for Boston. So for Jaylen Brown, I think your biggest levers against him are Derek White, are Pritchard, our Drew Holiday, our Porzingis, really everybody else. Kind of the same thing as Tatum. Like you take Tatum off, it opens up every other Celtic. If Brown fails, then every other Celtic also has a better shot of hitting because he's such a high usage guy. That means that you're giving up a lot of possessions if he doesn't get where he needs to go. Drew Holiday, I don't love either. 5% for me, fields at 16. This doesn't move up enough in terms of what he does in court time without Tatum, but his opportunity is the same as Brown, as Porzingis is White, theoretically. Horford's the big stand here. Again, something fucked up with the sim, but I had him in basically every lineup in the sim I ran before the show. He's going to be very chalky, would guess. He probably won't be actually 77%. He'll be more like 60, 65% if I had to guess. Has played over 30 minutes the last times that Tatum has been out when games actually mattered for the Celtics. So Horford, I think, is in a good situation. The issue is like he's still only a less than 15% usage rate guy with Tatum off the court. Does he really get much better? No. And if the minutes flow away from it all, then you're kind of fucked. The minutes should be there for him. I think 36 is a little bit aggressive by Stokastic, but even if he gives you 28 minutes, he still looks pretty good as a value play. Miami on their side, you're getting about 20 to 25% ownership for all the key guys here. And I'm with it. Bam Adebayo, 24% for me, 28% for the field. Hero, 36% for me, fields at 25. So a little bit of a bigger stand on Hero. Given the fact he's $700 cheaper than Bam Adebayo, that's sort of the way my projections and my exposures usually work out. Wiggins, 18% for me. Fields at 20, basically flat with that. Davion Mitchell and Haywood Highsmith are the other two picking up ownership because of the fact they played a good amount of minutes last game. Miami trying to put out more defense out there means more minutes for Mitchell, more minutes for Highsmith. If they get smoked early on by Cleveland, maybe you see Duncan Robinson get out there more. You see Burks potentially get out there more. But with the way Cleveland is, I think they're going to want Mitchell and Highsmith out there. So they're playable. They're just not good producers. They're mostly out there for defense. Cleveland, technically the highest total on the slate. Not a lot of high totals here. 111.8 implied points for Cleveland. Again, we talked about Donovan Mitchell. Would love to get more. The Field's playing him in a third of lineups. I'm only getting 11%. Evan Mobley, 21% for me. Fields at 20. Darius Garland, 55% for me. Fields at 23. Garland is too cheap at a 7K price tag compared to Mitchell's 8,300. Again, Garland producing 1.15 fantasy sports minute on the year. Mitchell producing 1.26. It's a little bit too much of a price discrepancy between those two guys, I think, at this point. But, playoffs, again, superstar players consolidate usage. Garland, not quite a superstar player. So, but he put up over 20 points last game. I think technically over 25 points. So for Garland here, I think he's going to play at 7K. Jared Allen, pretty much guaranteed minutes because the amount of big men he'll face versus Miami. So he's an okay player here, even though he will get less shots up with Mitchell, Garland, even Ty Jerome hoarding some more at a certain point as well. And I expect even today, Evan Mobley getting more shots up seems like a certainty. DeAndre Hunter, I didn't get there. He looks like a terrible value to me. The minutes were not there from, and not expect to be there again in game 2. Ty Jerome, you could play at 20%, be with the field on it. Don't think he's a huge stand guy, unfortunately. I always do love Ty Jerome. It's hard to expect him to put it up after he put up 28 real-life points last game. Golden State, 100.8 implied points. Get another gross total here with the matchup versus Houston. And get ready for there to be lower totals because we are in the playoffs, so don't be too surprised when you see them all look like this over the next few weeks. For Golden State here, Steph Curry seems too low with him being a 5X value to me. A lot of the other higher priced, high projected guys more appropriately owned. Steph Curry being under 20%. In fact, might be the only one under 20% out of that top projected group. Steph Curry's upside is still big, even though Houston's going to sell out to stop him more than anybody else. Jimmy Butler, I barely got any of. Fields at 27%. I think getting some of him would be more logical than getting none of him. But I'd rather prioritize getting more of Curry. Both guys, though, playing high 30s minutes. Butler played over 40 last game, so a lot of run expected for them no matter what. Draymond Green, never a player I like too much, but him playing also mid to high 30s minutes makes him look pretty viable. 21% ownership for the field. I'm basically flat with it. Bajemski, a little bit less than the field, 43% in my top 150. The field's at 48. Again, he's going to play the minutes. He's still not as great of a usage guy as obviously Butler, as Curry is. Doesn't produce as much in every category like Draymond does, though it's closer than it probably should be. Bajemski doesn't excite me very much, but I think he'll make lineups work well at 5,500 and point guard, shooting guard eligibility. So I'm okay with Bajemski. I don't think there's a natural fade to him either. I guess maybe Peyton getting some more minutes, but he was your worst plus minus guy for Golden State last game. So I think you play Bajemski with the field and probably don't ask too many questions about it. And Moses Moody here, 20% for my top 150. Fields at 23. Not really a lot to say about Moses Moody besides the fact he's in the rotation playing minutes. That's all we're looking for at this point is guys who are going to play ideally as many minutes as possible, but over 20, over 25. Moody is one of those guys. And Houston on their side, we talked about Şengün before, just mispriced to me at 8,700. Amin Thompson, I don't think the projection makes a ton of sense. He really hasn't had the ceiling performances overall throughout the back half of the season. But Amin Thompson, we know, is capable of it. So if you want to get there, you can. But I prefer Şengün. I prefer to take shots at Jalen Green, Fred VanVleet. Guys who had a lot of usage in game 1 that just didn't work out. I'd expect they're going to try to gun again here, in particular Green and VanVleet. And Şengün should be fine no matter what because there's just no real center opposition going against him. VanVleet is at risk, I think, to lose some minutes overall. Did play 40 last game. Stokastic has him for 40.5 today, as you can see here. I think VanVleet is still a guy you want to take shots on, but he was really awful last game. If he's awful this game too, misses a ton of shots and also adds nothing defensively. At a certain point, you get more Dylan Brooks, get more Jabari Smith, more Tyree Eason, maybe go bigger against Golden State because you actually have big guys who can play guard defense, probably honestly better than VanVleet does at this stage of his career. I think VanVleet's a risky player, but I'll take the shot for a guy that got a team high 19 shots last game. And that is the game-by-game view, guys. We're going to go to Unabated to see what the market-based data has for us right now. And let's see what we got going on that page here. I'm not going to run the video because, again, they're not paying for each video, so I'm not going to run the ad with the steel drums. That's my one principle here. If you give me X amount per video, I'll run whatever you want. If you want to run gay porn on this channel, knock yourself out. Nice to have this community full of handsome men that shoot. And speaking of, Tyler in here, shout out our guy Emo Cowboy, doing a great job in the best ball space year-round for NFL if you want to go gamble there. All right, let me try to log in because it's going to log me out unabated. Really wish this ran a little faster. That video, the one thing I will give the video for unabated credit for, it delayed just the perfect amount of time for me to get logged in and show everything. But you can see the results you would have with unabated. You'd be up at this point $70,000, placing every bet 30 minutes before tip-off. $100 units, every bet that unabated recommends the 5% or higher ROI. They've been crushing with their conditional projections. Unfortunately, the conditional projections are only available for paying customers during the usual hours after 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So we're going to take a look at the market data instead and see what we get. And yesterday, we did have some really high EV on DraftKings Sportsbook in particular using the market-based projections. So we'll take a look at what we get with unabated when it loads up here in a moment. All right, market-based projections. Let's go to points as well. Let's take a quick run through here and see what we get. Some of these bets might not be from today's slate. They might be from other games coming up. We'll take a look and see what we have that's going to be plus EV theoretically, according to Unabated's data, which I've mentioned enough times throughout the regular season, but I'll mention again too, because Unabated's been a good partner throughout the year. A lot of this data is being used by professional players around the clock. People that are spending a lot more money on gambling than you or I do in a given day. In fact, a lot of them making their livelihoods off betting. They use Unabated's data to get their action down. And it really is something where if you're using the market-based stuff or their conditional projections, you'll know you're getting it good, whether you are placing just one-off bets at a sports book or you're building your pick'ems like the fish you are out there. But use Unabated's data. It'll make your life better in gambling. That is a promise for you. Check it out. Link down below, 20% off. And it does support the show as well. Haywood Highsmith over 5.5 points, minus 118 odds on PrizePicks. Your usual pick'em line there, looking pretty good. 4.8% EV. Playable as well on DraftKings Sportsbook for Haywood Highsmith, who will be in a good amount as a defensive stopper today. Over 5.5 points, minus 125 odds. Haywood Highsmith looking good on PrizePicks and DraftKings Sportsbook. DeAndre Hunter under 9.5 points. Unabated, the market data rather from Unabated showing an under looking profitable here. 4.3% EV for DeAndre Hunter, plus 100 odds on FanDuel. Gets you 4.3% EV for DeAndre Hunter under 9.5 points. Dennis Schroeder under 10.5 points. That's for the next game coming up with the Knicks and Detroit. But 2.4% EV for Schroeder at minus 114 odds on FanDuel. That line will probably be priced out by the time the game is actually going off tomorrow. Corey Joseph under 4.5 points, looking good on PrizePicks, 2.3% EV on there. And Steph Curry, we can round up this one under 26.5 points, looking plus EV on your pick'em sites, PrizePicks and Underdog, but under a 2% EV, you can play it if you want. It's not necessarily a great bet. Generally, you want to see over a 2% EV for market-based numbers, but if you're desperate for a bet, 1% is better than nothing. All right, let's see what we got with rebounds here. Gary Payton, over 2.5 rebounds. Minus 110 odds on DraftKings. Gets a 2.1% EV. Probably not playable anywhere else. Jabari Smith, under 6 rebounds. Rounded up, playable on PrizePicks. 1.9% EV for Jabari Smith, under 6 rebounds. Şengün's, Hargison's, overs on rebounds. You could take them. I don't love them, though. I don't love them. Want to have a little more EV for market-based data, ideally. Again, I know this from having done millions of hours of back testing with Probably. Generally, if you're going to compare stuff based upon a larger sample size of books compiled together, which is similar to what Unabated does here, you want to have ideally 2% or higher EV. Stokastic, I think with OutShopper says 1% is okay. I'd still go for 2. This might be like something that means nothing to most of you guys out there, but it is like the little bits of a thing that matter in terms of a larger sample size of having an edge or not. So I try to talk about it out loud here instead of just letting it stir around in my beautiful mind style brain. Davion Mitchell under 6.5 assists, looking good on DraftKings. Minus 110 odds, gets you 2.5% EV. It's only available on DraftKings Sportsbook, though, none on the Pick'em site. So Davion Mitchell only on DraftKings under 6.5 assists. Nikola Jokic over 9.5 assists. I would take that one, just knowing ball, I suppose. 1.5% EV on that. Not a high enough sim EV to love, though. And PRAs last but not least, rather. No, hopefully not least. We are running through these a little bit faster because Unabated's not technically paying for the segment, and also there's really not as many bets. The conditional projections will have more for you guys every day, but unfortunately, those are only available after 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to do the streams when the time works best for me, is when we're doing right now. All right, it's only one bet for PRAs, and this is for the Lakers game coming up in a couple days. You got LeBron under 38.5 PRAs. Pretty big EV right now if you want to take the under for LeBron's PRAs. 3.5% EV. We're under 38.5 PRAs for LeBron on FanDuel at minus 122 odds. And that is it. The juice has been squeezed out today. Maybe got spoiled a little by yesterday. Okay, here's a Bane line that didn't sort correctly. Bane over 30.5 PRAs. That's for tomorrow. Minus 112 odds on FanDuel. Gets a 2.9% EV. Anything else that didn't sort through? Nah, just a lot of minus EV bets. Oh, Jaylen Brown under. Why wouldn't that come up? All right, whatever. Jaylen Brown under 33.5 PRAs. Okay, now it's resorting. Are you fucking kidding me? Now that they're not paying for every stream, sometimes these tools have some glitches that fucking drive me nuts. And you might notice me like my eyes going like, what the fuck? It happens sometimes here. It's all JavaScript tools and it's live data. But man, I just wish it would just sort correctly the first time. We had the same fucking issue with Probably too, so I get it. But man. Anyway, Jaylen Brown, your best bet under 33.5 PRAs, minus 115 odds on DraftKings gets you 4.2% EV. So line probably juiced a little bit too much with Tatum out. Given the fact that you do often see your Derek Whites, your Peyton Pritchards, maybe you're in Al Horford's, your Porzingis go off in the spot. For Jaylen Brown, I still like him for DFS, but a little bit scary to see the under being favored by Unabated's market data right now. Let's run a DFS sim here, the last stage in our process. And this is going to be something where I have no input at all. Just going to see what Stokastic has for us. So let's pull this tab up, generate some lineups. And again, check out Unabated, 20% off, link down below. And Stokastic, the sim you're going to see here on screen. You can do it for yourself right up to game time. 15% off monthly packages, weekly packages, and it all supports the show directly. Half the money you pay to Stokastic comes my way. And it's really been the biggest way for me to keep these Splash Play channels afloat over the last year and change. So please keep checking out Stokastic. Use the link down below and do that. And of course, join the Discord too. Lots of beautiful people in there, like Spurious News was talking about. On the Discord, $5 a month, does support the show directly. And much like PBS, I guess I won't give you a tote bag, but I will give you the best information I can here every single day, whether it's mine, whether it's Stokastic, whether it's Unabated. I try to do the best I can every show to make sure you're coming in prepared. You understand where the markets are. You understand what I'm seeing. And then you can do whatever the fuck you want with it. You can throw it out the window. You can play Alex Caruso like we talked about yesterday. Talk about the pros, talk about the cons. That's the value I hopefully add here. So if you guys get something out of it, please show some love and be a little capitalist piggy. Go fucking buy some things that are linked in the description. For the love of God. Let's see what we get in the sim. So again, we saw my sim data before. My projections overlaid in the Stokastic sim. Now you'll just see what Stokastic has for us here, and we can get a read on what their top lineups are. If I had to guess, might be pretty similar to what mine was. Probably a lot of Al Horford's going to be my guess as well. Really have no clue why Al Horford did not work in my sheet before. That's going to be one that makes me crazy. I'm looking at it right now. All the Excel stuff aligns correctly. It's looking up the right name. Sometimes Excel just breaks and fucking one of the worst things in the world is when your Excel breaks. I think we can all agree. 9/11, Excel breaking, those two in some order. Tariffs. We got Derek White at number 1 ROI lineup right now, according to Stokastic data. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Haywood Highsmith, Al Horford, Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, Draymond Green, Alperen Sengun. So you see what you're getting here in a playoff lineup. All guys in the rotations playing meaningful minutes. Highsmith is your one questionable guy, but he and Davion Mitchell are going to play minutes here because he cannot defend Cleveland if they don't play minutes. At number 2, you have Donovan Mitchell, Brandon Pajemski, Franz Wagner, Al Horford again, Jarrett Allen again, Fred VanVleet, Haywood Highsmith again, Alperen Sengun again. So some similarities here. And again, all starters, all legit rotational guys, plus Haywood Highsmith. Number 3, you have Tyler Hero, Moses Moody, Franz Wagner, Al Horford, Jarrett Allen, Fred VanVleet, Draymond Green, Alperen Sengun makes this one too. So you're getting kind of the similar price tag guards, similar value guys, your Jarrett Allens, your VanVleets, your Senguns. Similar builds up top for Stokastic right now. Number 4, they have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Moses Moody, Al Horford, Jarrett Allen, Steph Curry makes this one, Draymond again, Fred VanVleet again. So really a lot of overlap. And Al Horford makes all 5. At number 5, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Franz Wagner, Al Horford, Jonathan Isaac, Fred VanVleet, Draymond Green, Donovan Mitchell. So you are taking the backup center spot with Jonathan Isaac. He could certainly produce and get more minutes. Really want Wendell Carter to lose some minutes somehow. But he's a value play, so I get it. A lot of Celtics, though. It's going to be the thing. I think anytime you hear somebody on the stream compare 9/11 to their Excel breaking, that's how you know. That's how you know they're really a data guy. So we got Alperen Sengun, your top ROI player according to Stokastic. Don't worry about the negative numbers. We're more concerned with the directional accuracy of the sim here. But Sengun, a negative 6% ROI, your highest ROI guy on Stokastic's data in their top 150 lineups. Number 2 is Fred VanVleet, just a little bit behind Sengun in ROI. Franz Wagner at number 3, Derek White at number 4, Donovan Mitchell at number 5, Draymond Green at number 6. No surprises based on what we saw in those top ROI lineups. And number 7, Drew Holiday, who I will probably get the least of today. He'll be a forgotten man, I think, amidst the higher usage Celtics, more fun Celtics to click, including 6th man of the year, Peyton Pritchard. But Drew Holiday, again, gets the same opportunity here with Tatum off the court. Just a lot of shots to go around. Highest exposed players. This is the exact same amount I got with Al Horford before the show, even though it didn't work correctly on the sheet. 98% exposure for Al Horford here. Fields is 77. Al Horford basically in every lineup play. If I had to make my guess again, like I did the other day, I think he's more of an Asar Thompson, where even if things go poorly, he probably makes a winning lineup because that $4,300 salary, there really aren't great pivots there that'll play anywhere around the minutes that he's going to play. Even if he's not a great producer, like playing 30 minutes or so is a lot for a guy at 4,300. So Horford, he should probably be in every lineup, even though if you fade him and you really get it right, you're going to leap a lot of the lineups if he does somehow fail. Jared Allen, 57%, Fields at 38. He's just too cheap. I get that logic. Derek White, 56%, Fields at 36. Again, you could play Derek White with Jaylen Brown. I do think he looks the best without Jaylen Brown in a lineup ideally. But $6,900 salary, too cheap for Derek White, a guy who was priced up to about $8K. Just a chance that Tatum or Brown would sit in a game. That's where he was at the end of the regular season. Derek White's too cheap at this point as well, but so are a lot of guys in these playoff slates. Donovan Mitchell, Stokastic wants to get 55%, Fields at 31. Franz Wagner, 53%, Fields at 29. So pretty big pro Franz Wagner stand for Stokastic here. Getting a lot of Pajemski, but under the field. 43% exposure for Stokastic's top 150. Fields at 50%. Fred VanVleet, 43% exposure in Stokastic's top 150. The Fields at 27%. Again, VanVleet shot a lot last game. He probably should not play at a certain point, but he played a lot. Udoka seemingly wants to put him out there, so VanVleet, I think, is unfortunately one of the plays you hope you get right on the slate. Franz Wagner, 24% more than the field, is your highest leverage guy in Stokastic's top 150 lineups. Donovan Mitchell at number 2, 23% more than the field. Al Horford, number 3, 21% more than the field. Again, he's basically in every lineup in Stokastic's top 150. Alperen Sengun, 21% more than the field. 2x the field's 21% exposure. Derek White, 20% more than the field. About 55% of lineups will have Derek White today if you use Stokastic's data. Jared Allen, 18% more in the field. He's also in about 57% of lineups. And Fred VanVleet, 15% more in the field. He's in 43% of Stokastic's lineups. Most negative leverage players. Jimmy Butler, not coming up at all. Only 4% exposure. Fields at 27. I had the same issue here. Butler is playing big minutes. He certainly can be productive if things align the right way. I don't love the Butler fade, but you got to fade somebody on these slates. We'll give the same thing, though. I mentioned yesterday on these slates, I do try to get like 20% of every guy who's got a slate breaking upside. So we're talking about like legit, like your Butlers, your Currys, your Bams, your Heroes, not really not even really your Jalen Greens, really more like your top high usage guys. That's what I've been doing in every playoff slate. It's really been helping me out. Like yesterday, I had a lot of lineups that didn't cash, but because I got one that was top 40 in the 4-point play, it balanced out my spend on the day. That's sort of what you're trying to accomplish, I think, in most playoff slates, at least for me. So I would like to get more Butler, I think, than 4%, but the Sims say he's not a good play. Adebayo, 9%, Fields at 29, so a big negative 21% leverage for Bam Adebayo. Andrew Wiggins, negative 16% leverage on him. Davion Mitchell, negative 14% leverage, only playing him 12%. The field will play him at 26. Seems like Stokastic likes Highsmith more, right? Yeah, Highsmith, you're getting 23%, so a little bit more than the field. Davion Mitchell, you're getting 12%, about half the field. So Stokastic would favor Highsmith in your cheap Miami Wings playing defense category of plays. Jalen Green, negative 13% leverage. Evan Mobley, negative 11%. Paolo Banchero, negative 9%. Pretty big anti-stand on Mobley here, and Jalen Green as well. Jalen Green got up a lot of shots last game. I feel like if VanVleet fails again, Green also put up, I think, 17 or 18 shots. Maybe Green can hit, and that's your way to get unique in some lineups without VanVleet. Green and VanVleet's usage was exactly the same, just a little bit more minutes for VanVleet. All right, so let's go through one more round of plugs, and we'll give you guys my splash plays for the day, and we'll get the fuck out of here. Please subscribe down below with the like button. Leave a comment. It goes a long way for me here. Just one guy trying to do the best I can to keep this channel afloat here. No real sponsors, just some good partners here showing you data and tools. So again, your support goes a long way by joining the channel, hitting the like button, subscribing, do all the stuff down below. And of course, checking out the sponsors, 20% off Unabated. Click the link down below. Go over there, get a package for yourself of NBA data or the market-based data I show you here. And that works for MLB as well if you want to get more in that world. Stokastic, 15% off, link down below, all their data, all their sim stuff, and join the Discord. $5 to join here, and it does support the show directly. So if everybody watching these videos join the Discord, it would be a lot better for everybody. Really, it'd be a lot better. We have a great community, and also I could be making some money. So that's really the goal here. So please join the channel here, get in there, talk some basketball, football, baseball, whatever you want really on the Discord. All right, splash plays for the day. I mean, it has to be Al Horford. I think when it comes down to it, I might still get cute and try to play some portion of lineups without Horford, maybe a lot, 25% without him. But more likely, if I'm feeling lazy, which is probably going to be the case because I don't have to do some MLB lineups at the same time, and I have an MLB live before lock show with Stokastic, I'd probably be more inclined to just lock Horford, assuming that he's starting, and just deal with it. He's played big minutes, played over 30 with Tatum off for the most parts of this year. It should be the case today, even though the ceiling won't be the highest. I think he does make that winning lineup no matter what. Besides him, Van Vliet would be another. Jaylen Brown would be another. Garland would be another. Franz Wagner would be another. Podziemski, I'm lower than the field on, but I am getting a good amount there. I think that would be my main guys here. Pay-up options really don't think are that great. I like Banchero conceptually, but he's really your only guy that you're paying up all the way for. I mean, look, I gave you enough guys. Van Vliet, Horford, Podziemski, White, Allen, Brown, Garland, Wagner, Hero to a lesser extent. That's going to be my core. So that's it for today, guys. Make sure you gamble responsibly, especially these NBA playoff times. Again, really balancing exposures I think is important, but I'll just say that out loud. It is always money time here, though. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this channel at Splash Play Bets. We're at the subscribe button down below. And I'll be back tomorrow with another one here, guys. So, hey, we're going to keep marching on here. Show some love if you can by hitting the buttons, clicking the links, and all that. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days, and I'll see you also at 5 o'clock on Stokastic for MLB. So I'm gonna go prep another sport. But I'll see you guys there. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.